Melanie, thanks very much for talking to us today. Tell us a little bit about Sussex Down College and what you do here.
Right, well, we're a general FE college. We have about 4,500 to 5,000 young people with us, generally studying full-time, a whole range of programmes through from entry level to level 3. And then we have adult learners, 19 plus, again, full-time, part-time, flexible leisure provision, and also higher education. We do a lot of work with local employers as well, tailored work, bespoke work for them, as well as obviously a lot of work on apprenticeships being an important priority. We cover ourselves the sort of western half of East Sussex, and we have campuses in Lewes, Newhaven and in Eastbourne. But we work with a whole range of partners to make sure that we can take our provision out more widely and reach the right people in the right places. I'm the Chief Executive and Principal of the college. I've been in this role for 18 months now, and so I'm rapidly getting to grips with the range of what the college offers and where I know we've got a really strong track record and areas where we'd like to develop and to expand what we offer.
So you describe yourself as both the principal and the chief executive here. Does that mean you're combining then both an administrative, a business role with a pedagogic role too?
It is, yes. When I describe it to people, I usually say the principal part is about teaching and learning and actually the business, the core business. The chief executive part is about keeping the business on the road and all of the work around financial planning, strategic planning, audit, managing risk, governance, a whole range of different things. So it is, I mean, we're a sort of 40 million turnover college, so it is managing a big business as well as trying to lead on the pedagogy. So it's a fantastic job. I'm really privileged.
Here at Sussex Downs, what's your experience been with ESF in recent times?
The college has actually got quite a good track record of working on ESF projects and the current one, Opt-in Plus, grew out of a previous project which was called Opt-in. But prior to that we had a really interesting project focused on sports provision and preparing young people for elite sports and it really driven by the Olympics, which is incredibly topical at the moment. A part of that was developing the advanced apprenticeship in sporting excellence, which we now continue to offer. So, but in general terms, if I speak about ESF funding, I think what it does, because it's more generous than mainstream funding, it allows us to be able to offer additionality and to really add value, I think, to the programmes that we offer anyway, and to experiment with different additionality as well, to try and really meet the needs of the participants in the programme. So for me, that's the main benefit. And I think it does give you that little space for innovation, trialling things, and really learning from that. So it's really been a fantastic resource, and I do hope we can continue to access it. We've got a current project alongside Opt-in Plus, which is skills support for people who are unemployed. And we're working on that with partners in Kent as well as in East Sussex.
So you talk a little bit about additionality that ESF brings. Could you give us an example of what that means in practice?
Yes, I mean for Opt-in Plus, what we particularly have focused on are transition coordinators, and I'm happy to talk about that in a bit more detail, but really that support to enable people to make that effective transition from the programme into something productive. But also even small things around having a breakfast club, for example, and being able to pay for that. And that can really have a big impact on young people, both as a motivator, as an important social occasion, but also just in terms of maintaining their health as well.
The young people you work with here are very often a long way from having had many positive experiences of learning. What sort of success do you have with your approach here, and how does that compare with elsewhere, do you think?
Well, with our previous programme, Opt-in, the end of programme results were that we had a 92% retention rate, which I have to say many providers would be really envious of in terms of their mainstream work, let alone with a very vulnerable group of learners. The other important figure really is that 70% progression to a positive destination. So that would include employment, an apprenticeship, further education or volunteering. And that 70% plus, progression is really, I think, again, quite an important indicator that we are helping young people to move into something that is worthwhile and meaningful. On the current programme, Opt-in Plus, it's still, relatively early days, although we're well on the way to recruiting the number that we have in the contract target. But of the first few who've achieved their programme, we're anticipating about a 64% positive progression rate, which we hope we will be able to improve on, obviously, through the programme. And obviously, we don't allow young people to progress until we've helped them to find something that's positive. So, there's a lot of work to do. It is difficult in the current climate. And obviously, employers aren't really expanding. They're just battening down the hatches and trying to keep a steady ship. We are really pleased to have achieved that sort of progression. A significant number of those youngsters are moving into education, which I think is a great thing, because we will be able to help them to build their skills, build their confidence even further, and then offer them placements to get them really into sustainable jobs.
So what would you characterise as the success factors?
One of the things that we observe with these young people is that they come very often from sort of chaotic lifestyles, and they have a lack of support at home, whatever home might be to them, and some of them have something that you or I might not recognise as home either. And so for a lot of them, it's about providing them a sort of stable base, a stable home where they can come to. They know the staff will always be the same, they will be consistent, there will be consistent behaviours expected, and so on. So there's something about creating that security. The second thing is about working in small groups. So they do get to build their confidence, get to build their own sense of their self with a group of peers, and knowing how to behave in that sort of environment as well. Something I mentioned earlier about the breakfast clubs, even something as simple as that, is about encouraging young people to sit down and eat with others and hold a conversation. A lot of families that they come from, homes they come from, don't do that. And so I think a lot of it is very much about giving people structure, stability, security. The second most important thing, obviously, though, is building their sense of what their direction is, what skills they have, what skills they need in order to be able to progress. So a lot of work on literacy, numeracy, IT, absolutely essential for progression into any role these days. So that's, the sort of core. But it's about the way it's delivered through project work, through teamwork, through visits, talks, a whole range of different things. And then we're able to enrich that, because of ESF funding, with activities such as Outward Bound or employer visits. They went off to Microsoft for a day and had mock interviews there, for example. So they've had a chance to really understand what it would mean to sit in front of someone from a big corporation and have to present the best of yourself. And while that's a big leap for many of them, it's at least opening their eyes to some of those sorts of challenges that they will undoubtedly face in the future. So there's some of the sort of the key things. I would also mention, though, the transition coordinators, who are really critical people on that programme. Adults who provide young people with help and support, so that when they're progressing into learning or into employment or into volunteering, there's someone who's there for them, who can help them make that adjustment and make sure they can stay the course. Because having created this nice sort of safe, stable environment that I describe, we're then pushing them out of that and moving them on. And they need some help with that, obviously. So the idea is, high levels of support, and initially, I guess, high dependency, but then gradually tailing off so that they then become independent and autonomous learners or workers.